All right, it's Wednesday, November 16th. This is an end of the day SPY recap. And on the daily chart, we have just a very neutral inside day, slightly red, but really nothing much has changed from the 4 days of consolidation we have going on right now, which I discussed in the pre-open video, how at some point we're going to have to see, do we really break out of this range to the downside, maybe fill in some a fair value gap in here before heading higher, maybe continue even a lot lower, or are we going to kind of fail a breakout and head higher, or are we just going to head higher? So in this case, we did neither, and we're still watching it. If you look at the actual trading session on the 15-minute chart and the structure that unfolded, by the end of the pre-market movement, we were kind of near the lows, and the first bar really didn't give us anything green to start up. To even begin to approach those highs, and then we started a little bit lower, and I had sort of a down bias. There were a whole bunch of stocks that were moving lower. I also was very aware that this market, until we really break out of this range that I discussed, in the pre-market video, we might, don't necessarily expect strong follow through to the downside, given that the market's kind of holding in a range for the moment. So nevertheless, though, in the opening session, it was definitely biased to the downside. You can see here we kind of started down, paused, then made a second little move down. The little attempt to rally, I was watching it closely, thinking, all right, maybe we're getting a big delay here. Maybe this fifth or sixth bar of the session might be the low of the day if we really get something strong to the upside. But then we come two down, and then we start up. So we never crossed the opening bar high, which was kind of my benchmark to even, and just to see some kind of an impulsive move, back up, to know that we're kind of, like the other days here, kind of failing at the bottom of the range and maybe starting back up. Never found it. Had actually a pretty big reversal bar here, which kind of signaled again that the downward action would probably hold for the rest of the session, and we just kind of closed somewhat near the lows. So we're still in the same condition here. In the bigger picture, let's just look at the weekly chart again. I mean, right now, obviously, the green weekly bar after a big run up, we did take out the highs a little bit early, and then we've just been grinding a little lower in a consolidation area here. Nowhere near the midpoint of that bar yet. It's possible we start getting down there, tomorrow, possibly, but maybe not. I'm still biased to the upside to take out these targets as long as conditions stay, but we might have to pause for a while. Also, you're seeing here with 2 days to go in the week, this bar is getting closer now to forming a little bit, maybe of a little reversal look, which can give us a 2-down week. In that case, you would, short run kind of get negative, but I also want to see with this big green bar how much any downside action eats into this. If we just, let's say we close with a reversal looking bar here and get a 2 down, we might just end up with like a bear flag, just a couple of minor pullbacks in here. If that happens, then I would get excited, by the end of the month to look for upside. But it's possible that this bar, we move back to the upside and we close kind of neutral here, or even a little green, and then continue higher. So it's tough to say until we really break out of this range, and that's what's developing. So anyway, with the downward bias this morning, just to show you, with the SPY itself, it was kind of tough to trade it because, any downward move, I knew it had to break out of this range, which it didn't do, and we certainly didn't have any up bias at all to go long. But in terms of the individual stocks, that's sometimes where, when you can see what's developing, like Tesla was a great short, and I had a video doing that. I also went short on Meta this morning here at the blue line, and that was a really nice short. And then on the long side, knowing kind of the SPY, as you recall, I said we might be holding at the bottom of this range. I just searched around and saw Home Depot had a really nice start to the day compared to those others. And then I was able to buy in here and have a nice short-term gain to the upside. So, it was a mixed market in that way. That's what you sometimes have to do when the SPY itself is not giving the clearest signal. You just look at the individual stocks. Definitely a little bit of a downward bias overall. And I could show you a lot of stocks that kind of move that way. But for now, we're just going to have to really see how this week begins to end. We're going to have to really watch this range closely. I still think there's an opportunity to fail on a breakout and head the other way. I'm still biased, just given this price action, that we're just consolidating and eventually going to resolve to the upside, but you never know. So let's just continue to kind of play the 15-minute charts as they open, and just keep it all in the context that we're in a big range right here at the moment, and we'll just see which way the market eventually wants to go.